Graham, how are you, brother?
Can you hear
Can
me?
hear,
Yeah.
can hear you now, man. How you getting on?
Oh, but how's things?
I'm good. How are you? Did you enjoy the match?
Yeah, man. Brilliant.
You're a United fan, are you?
Yeah, man. Myself and my young fella, man. Just fucking. We're all United, mate, in this house. So it was a great to see the win. But if I didn't watch the match with him, no, but there would have been more,
yeah, man. I'm the same. My house, a big football family, big Gaelic family too. But come here, man.
Yeah.
So basically, the podcast, man. I usually just do in a state of flow. I've no questions written down. It's just a chit chat. It's mental health and just using our own experience and our own struggles to help other people. And we
Oh,
just
man.
go.
Yeah.
You are?
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah.
Sound good, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, bro.
Sweet, bro. Right, so I'll just do an intro and we get it going, will we?
Yeah.
Sweet, man, sweet. Right, here we go, bye. Right. Hello, friends. How are you? How are you getting on? Today I'm joined by, sorry, hold on. We go again there, man. Sorry, I forgot to say the name of the podcast. Hello, friends. How are you? How are you getting on? My name is Colin, and this is the Sober Mess podcast, and you're very welcome. Today, I'm joined by a professional boxer and a boxing coach who is a heavyweight when it comes to mental health awareness. He's no stranger to overcoming challenges in life and has used his own story with mental health and addiction to help others and inspire people. He's also one of my biggest inspirations. He's also an avid Man United fan, as we had to delay this interview because of the United City game, where there was a very questionable penalty. But I'm absolutely delighted to have Graham McCormack on the podcast. So, Graham, how are you, brother?
I'm good, mate. Very. I'm delighted, mate. What a day to do a podcast. United beating City 2-0. What a day.
Was it a penalty? Was it a penalty?
It was a penalty. It was either way we were going to win anyway.
Oh, I love it, man. Yeah, I love it. I think about United fans, they can have the banter, man. The Liverpool fans, look, we mates in a WhatsApp group, and I was slagging him earlier. You know, Liverpool lost 1-0, and he left the group because it was having.
Yeah, man, they get very bad, man.
Oh, they can't take a joke.
They can give it, but they can't take it.
Oh, yeah. So this mental health podcast goes out to the Liverpool fans. Oh man, powerful stuff. But so Graham, how are you getting on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm in the middle of camp for my next fight in America in 20 days, around 3 weeks. So, man, right now at the minute, I'm just laser focused on the job at hand. Just getting ready for the fight. Training 2-3 times every single day. Making sure I'm eating right while making sure I'm being a father and a husband and a good person at the same time. So it's great, man. I'm really enjoying my life right now, man. You know, it's really exciting times ahead and grateful for the opportunity I have in front of me, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And do you ever find it hard to balance everything, like to have time for the family and the training and your own kind of, I suppose, self-care and things like that?
Yeah, look, I mean, it can be hard at times, man. Like, there's no point in saying like it isn't, because that'd be telling lies. Of course, it can be hard. Like, I suppose when you're in camp for a fight, man, like you're training like 2, sometimes 3 times a day. So then, like, you're kind of tired then when you're not training, or trying to kind of get a bit of rest. And my wife is pregnant, and we have 2 small kids. I have a 6-year-old and I have a 9-month-old baby as well. And so, like, she's obviously tired too, man. So I'm making sure I'm there for her as well and the kids, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So yeah, at times it can be hard, man. But it's great, man. I'm grateful I'm able to do these things now, man. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that I'm able to be there and be present in their life and be whatever help I can be. Like, so yeah, some days it can be way harder, man. When the days when we're tired and one of the days I'm looking to go back to bed after a tough spar or tough training. But it's all a part of life, man. And I'm blessed that I'm able to be where I'm at in life now, like, you know what I mean? That I'm able to be there with the kids, whether I'm tired or not, man. Do you know what I mean? There was a couple of years ago when I didn't think I'd have the things that I'm able to do, the things I'm able to do today. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have kids from a past relationship, and they're a lot older now, like, and I missed all that, like, you know what I mean? I missed all that through my addiction and my alcoholism. Like, I missed all the times that I have now, like, so I'm grateful that I'm able to do these things now, whether I'm tired or not, man, and whether whether boxing comes and gets in the way, like not gets in the way, like, but whether I'm tired from it or not, I'm still grateful I'm able to be there and present at this time with the kids and stuff, you know.
Man, yeah, that's beautiful. And I suppose one thing that I'd say about my addiction and my own struggles with mental health, that because of them in the past, that today I'm so grateful for things like that, being able to spend time with the family, being able to be present, being able to, just be out in nature and appreciate the simple things in life. And I think that's I suppose, one of the gifts that comes out of addiction and out of them struggles, that we know what it's like not to be able to appreciate them simple things, because life can be such a struggle. And then overcoming that and being like, yeah, I just love being able to be like you talked at the start about, being able to watch the United game with your young fella, like, you know what I mean? And just little gems like that, are such a gift, like, just to be present, like, and show up, the good, the bad, the ugly, regardless of, how we're feeling, just to be able to be there and present with our family, and just to be present in life and have a bit of peace of mind doing it all.
Yeah, I'd be the very same as you, man. Like, it's even today, like, I was in the sitting room with the small one, just dancing around. My missus got a little video of it, like, but even just those little times now, like, that I'm able to do that, like, with my daughter, or train with my son, or do those kind of things. Like, it's just, I missed all that before, like, you know what I mean? No, I love my other kids and stuff, like, but I missed so much of their life because of my addiction, because of my mental health, because of all that stuff. And I suppose I didn't know the things I know now, like, so I appreciate them so much more now than I ever could have before, you know what I mean? Because I suppose my addiction and the way my head was didn't allow me to appreciate those things at the time, Whereas
Yeah.
now, like, I appreciate every little moment of it, like, and it's just, I'm grateful that I'm able to be in the present moment when I'm with my kids, or when, like, even a while ago dancing with my daughter in the sitting room, like, that kind of stuff, like, is stuff that I never thought I'd have, you know what I mean? Stuff that I never thought I'd get the chance to do again, like, you know what I mean? So it's, God has given me this chance now, like, to be present in my kids' lives and be a good father, like,
It's mad, isn't it? It's like the gratitude and the mindset we have today is like something of a superpower, like, you know what I mean? And I suppose you could say, like, the addiction and the struggles is like the spider bite that Spider-Man got,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of the burden. And because of that spider bite, we've developed these superpowers just to have a gratitude and have to have a positive mindset, you know what I mean? That's how I look at it, like.
I'd be very same as you, man. I'd be honest. Sometimes I sit down and I'm meditating, or I'm doing something, thinking, like, I feel like I'm in a different zone to other people, because I feel like I'm so focused on enjoying my life now, and not, I don't get bothered by the little things that used to bother me before. Like, say, like, if someone said something about me, or if this guy didn't like me, or if that guy didn't like me, or whereas now I don't give a rat's ass about any of that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just so focused on the good things that I have in my life now, and the success that I have in my life now, and the stuff that means so much to me. Whereas before I was so focused on the negative, I couldn't look at the positive. Whereas now all I see is the positives. Even in negative situations, I'll take the positive out of this as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that, man. And like, mindset's like a muscle, you know what I mean? It's like, how do we build that mindset? Is from, I suppose, leaning into those struggles and leaning into those hard times and sitting with them and being showing resilience, and that's developed me now, that I still get, like, I still challenges, I still get them, you know what I mean? But they don't overwhelm me today, because we have that experience of the past and going through them, that I know that, look, this will pass, it won't overwhelm me, and I've developed a bit of resilience. But it's like that thing that people don't realize, that, like, emotional mindset and resilience is, it's like a muscle. It's like you go to the gym and you're boxing that bag every day, you're going to get better at boxing. And if you're lifting weights and
Yeah.
pumping your bicep's going to get stronger. And it's the same as our mindset and our emotions. The more we can sit with that pain, we'll get stronger and develop an ability to I suppose, cope and develop a sense of resilience with things that are thrown at us.
Yeah, big time, man, big time, and it makes you stronger the more you kind of go along, go through things. Because when I first came into recovery, man, I heard people sharing about that kind of stuff in meetings and stuff, and I was like, geez, man, what the fuck are these guys on about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had no clue what it was. Like, whereas now I look back 5 years ago and I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm in a completely different mindset now than what I was then. Like, I was the last little child back then. Like, whereas
Yeah.
now I feel like a strong-minded, positive, good guy. Like, but when I heard guys sharing about guys, I suppose, that were in the position I'm in now, sharing about it 5 years ago, I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Like, he must be out of his head. Like, And whereas
Yeah,
now I look back, I'm like, whoa, now I see what they were talking about. And now I see that it actually does work. That when you do train your mind and when you do start believing in yourself, when you do start pushing yourself past those boundaries and past that fear of failure, no matter what you're doing in life, then it just
yeah,
completely changes for you, man. And you get stronger, your life gets better. Like I can't explain the things that have opened up for me in the last 3-4 years because I was able to push past the fear and push
yeah,
past the negative naysayers and push back the doubt and stuff. Like, whereas now I'm like, oh my God, like if I didn't do that, where would I be? Like, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
because I was able to do that, and I think any human being is able to do that kind of stuff. It's just taking that first leap, like you know yourself. I've looked through your Instagram and which you've done yourself, taking that first leap and that first step off the ledge and believing in yourself. That's when it starts happening, like you know.
yeah. I love that, man. It's so true. And I remember when I came into recovery first, and like all the like yourself, all these guys that are around a few years were saying like, "Oh, you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams." And I thought that
Mm.
was a materialistic thing. I thought straight away I'll be playing for Barcelona someday, or I'll be doing a chair on the late show or something like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But you know what they were talking about, like they're referring to just as we said again, spending that bit of time with the family. You know, having a bit of peace of mind, being able to get out of bed in the morning and being able to go to sleep at night. You know what I mean? Those little
Mm.
simple things, and not having a racing mind constantly throughout the whole day. You know, having somewhat of a bit of peace in between your ears, and being able to like who you are, and being able to become your own best friend. And these are all things that were completely fucking out of like stuff that was completely unreachable for me, like at that time, you know what I mean? And then slowly
Yeah.
over time, it's like, yeah, I'd trade any materialistic thing for that peace of mind today, like, you know, the peace of
No,
mind
big
that I
time.
have.
I was the very same as you, man. When I heard people saying that, I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm going to win the lotto. These guys are millionaires. That's what they're talking about. Like,
Mm,
you know, like that's what I thought in my head, like not realizing
yeah,
like what you just said there, man, that it was the things that I have today, like the peace of
yeah,
mind, the fact that do you know what I really love today, man? Like, and I suppose you'll get this, and maybe people that watch this that have been to means to get it, but the fact that I can sit down, watch television, and not jump up to my window every time a car passes my house. Do you
mm,
know what I mean? Or the paranoia, like, is that someone coming in here? Or the fact that I can go to sleep at night time, not
mm,
worrying, is someone going to come in and kill me while I'm in my sleep? Or, you
yeah,
know, stuff like, because that's the stuff that used to go through my head when I was in addiction, man, because I was so caught up in stupid things like that. That's what my head was like. Whereas today, man, I'm able to put my head on my pillow and go to sleep with peace. You know what I
oh,
mean?
it's
Be
great,
at
isn't it?
peace and chill in bed. And, you know, like there's something, that's worth more money than anything ever, man. Like, I love that. In fact, I'm able to sit down with my wife at night time or sit down with the kids and not worry about anything, man. Do you know what I mean? Not
Yeah,
worry about someone coming through my door, or not worry about, you know, not that was ever going to happen, but in my head it was going to happen. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
mm,
not to have that fear of the unknown. Like, know that
mm.
everything I'm doing in my life right now is right, and it's by the glory of God, and it's by the fact that the life I have today has been given to me. Like, you know what I mean? So that to me is peace of mind, man, and that's what those guys were talking about when I first, like you just said there, when I first went to recovery, like saying a life beyond my wildest dreams. I have that now, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful, man, and it is that thing, like as well. You know, I used to treat like anxiety, you know, fear, paranoia. You know, I used to treat drink was my medicine for all them things. You know, my inability to sit with myself. You know, that as soon as we had a couple of points, man, you know, that was just relief. It was the relief that I felt, and all the anxieties of life, the fear of life. You know, fear of judgment, fear of what people thought, fear of my own self esteem, you know, fear of bills, you know, fear of relationships, fear of work, fear of life, you know. But then when I just had a few points in me, you know, all that fear just vanished. And then the only fear I had then was just where was I getting the next hit from, you know, where was I getting the
Yeah,
next
hundred
fight
percent.
from?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and I just kept checking, like me every time I felt stress or anxiety, my brain was like, "Here, we need to sort this out. Let's go for a gargle." Like, you know what I mean? And it just became my medicine. Whereas today, my medicine is going for a run or going in for a sea dip, you know, or as you said, doing a bit of meditation or doing a bit of journaling. You know what I mean? Where I still get those. I can still get that anxiety and that paranoia and that fear, but it doesn't overwhelm me or control my life. And I respond and treat it in a better way, you know, in terms of like going for a run or going for a swim, you know, where I wouldn't reach for something outside of myself, like a drink or a drug today to treat it, you know?
yeah. I'd be the very same as you, man. I was the very same, man. the fear of not knowing, the fear of judgment, like you said, all that stuff, man, and turning to a drink or a drug or not, like taking myself away from it, like escaping as much as I could. Like, whereas today, like I have the tools to deal with that stuff, man. Do you know what I mean? Like I firmly don't believe in fear today. I believe fear, the feeling of fear is real. I do believe everyone feels fear, but I feel like suffering with it is a choice that I don't make anymore. Like, you know what I mean? That I always get like, I know that the feeling and the thought of fear is real, but I feel like myself, I'm able to push past it all the time, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's made me stronger. But back when I was in addiction and stuff, like, man, I'd fear of everything, man. Like, I'd fear like, oh, that's it. This is going to happen to me. That's going to happen to me. He's talking about me. She's talking about me. And like, the minute I felt it, I went straight for a drink or I went straight for a drug, and there was no ifs or buts about it. Like, whereas
Yeah,
today, like, I'm able to deal with it in a mature way and deal with tools I've been given by recovery, you know?
yeah, I love that, man. And do you feel like being a boxer as well as being like a man? Did you find it was a struggle for you to open up and talk about your feelings or open up and talk about your addiction at a certain point? Like, you know.
Massively, man. The biggest thing for me when I said I decided I was going to get clean and sober was the vulnerable side. But I suppose I come from a life of like thinking I was Tony Montana and, you know, crime and going in and out of jail and living that mad life in my head, like that I was this big criminal overlord. Like I wasn't, like, but in my head I was, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I was involved in lots of stuff, like, but not as much as I thought in my head. So that vulnerable side and speaking about how I actually felt, and that was really hard for me, but really, really hard. I had to put down my guard and the big macho man guard, and that was probably the hardest part of recovery for me. Now, eventually, I was able to put it down. I was able to find out who I was, but it took me a while, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to realize, okay, hold on a minute, like, you don't have to put up this big false bravado and this Billy Big Balls. You know what I mean? It took a while, man, to put that down. You know, but
Yeah,
once I was able to put it down and get in. And like, even still to this day, man, I'll be honest, like sometimes I can find it hard, like, to put that down,
yeah,
because I'm a professional boxer. You know, the way I fight, like, I'm a very aggressive professional boxer. Like, I wouldn't be the most skillful fighter. I stand there and I fight, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And so sometimes I can find it very hard still to this day, like, and I'm nearly 5 years clean and sober, to let the vulnerable side in. But I do, because I know that it's obviously something within me that I need to deal with. You know what I mean? I'm able to
yeah.
deal with it, but sometimes it can be harder than others. But I'm able to do it today. But when I first came into recovery, man, it was so hard. And I think that's what kind of scares people off recovery, is the fact that they have to be vulnerable and the fact they have to look at who they are as a person, like, you know?
Yeah, it's mad, and that is the thing though. Like we're constantly putting on these masks. Like you know, I thought it was the hard man, but you know, and like going around, you know, throwing shapes, and you know, but deep down, I was terrified that I get found out. I'd be terrified that I'd be seen as an imposter, and I'd be terrified that they'd find out the real me. You know, and you know, and I was I constantly just wearing these masks all the time that I lost my identity because I was, you know, so consumed and being accepted and being liked, and you know, and being a hard man, because if I thought if I was a hard man, no one would challenge me and no one would and people, maybe if they're afraid of me, they won't fucking find out I'm an imposter. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was only then when I came into recovery that I realized all these masks that I wear, you know. And I was just to a thing recently, you know, and it was talking about where the word person comes from, and the word person comes from the word persona, about I suppose the different roles we play, and the word persona comes from a Greek word called persones, which is a Greek word for mask, you know. So
Yeah,
it's about
yeah.
it's the word, the mask that we all, like the guy in the play back in Greece, he used to put on a persona, a mask, and the actor going on playing all these different characters and all these different roles, like, you know what I mean. I'm the fucking, you know, I'm the villain now, I'm the superhero now, I'm the victim, and it's like, you know, all these different roles that we can fall into and play, like.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's, you're bang on, man. And I think when you first go into recovery, no matter who you are, I think you're taking off masks for a while, aren't you? Like, you're kind of like,
Mm.
you're taking layers off till you find out who you actually are. Like, that's how it was for me, man. Anyway, it was one layer after another until I could find out exactly who I was, you know.
Yeah, 100%. So, Graham, tell us about your story, man, because it's profound. You know, I found it so inspiring when I heard it. You know, like yeah, it just blew me away.
Yeah, man, like, you know, typical addict, man. You know what I mean? I started drinking young, taking drugs young, and got mixed up with the wrong crowd. And but luckily enough, like I always say, like, I got involved in boxing really young as well. and that kind of kept me kind of out of trouble for most of my teenage years, man, because I had the boxing. But then once I turned legal age for alcohol, man, so that was it, man. I went to Australia. My drinking took hold there. I came back from Australia, man, and it just went downhill from there. My drinking, my drug use, got involved with the wrong people again, and went into jail, and I just got worse and worse and worse, and it spiraled out of control, man. Like cocaine, I was selling drugs and thinking I was a fucking gangster, and oh man, it got absolutely out of control, man. Like you hear people
were
saying,
you
"Oh man,"
boxing before this, before it all took off?
before
Before you kind
before
of
I
hit the rock bottom, like before you kind of got
oh yeah,
wrapped up
man.
the drugs, yeah.
I'm boxing since I'm 15. I'm boxing all my life, really, man. I've been involved in boxing since I'm 15, man. So I was lucky. I always kind of had the club to go on back to when I'd kind of get spats where I was going to make this massive, I was going to come back boxing and blah, blah. But drugs had me gone bananas, like,
Yeah.
But like from about 22 till I got clean and sober, but it was just absolute madness. It got worse and worse and worse. I went in and out of jail and fucking, I became the person I thought I'd never be, like, you know what I mean? It's once the cocaine got a hold of me, man, you know yourself how it goes. And after that, like, you know what I mean? It's cocaine and alcohol. That was all I cared about, man. Like I had kids I didn't care about. I had my family I didn't care about. I didn't care about anybody, man. Like it was a real dark time, man. Even when I look back and I know, it's kind of like Jesus. When I look back now and I'm like, the life I have now to the life I lived back then, it's like a completely different person. Like when I look back now, it genuinely is a completely different person. Like, but it was dark, man. It was fucking, I done some fucking crazy things, man. And I was out of my mind for most of those years, man. All of them really, like till I got clean and sober. And, I wasn't nice to be around. And, it was fucking hard, man. It was a real hard time, you know what I mean? Then at the end of my drinking and using, man, you know what I mean? I tried to commit suicide and I lost everything, man. Like everything that I had, kids, my partner that I'm with now was my wife, and I had a son with her at the time, and they were gone. My mother and father were gone. My sisters were gone. Everything. I was homeless, sleeping on the streets. I was just fucking destroyed from it, man. And I just saw no way out. I tried to commit suicide, didn't succeed, thankfully. And that was the day it all turned around for me, man. Luckily, my mother and father kind of gave me a bit of leeway, took me back in the house, and I got into treatment, and I didn't look back since. You know what I mean? I was saved, and that's the truth. God saved me, but and I always say to this day, like that, God saved me. And I'm not a big preacher of God, and I'm not a big religious guy, but I'm a very, very spiritual guy today, and I fully believe that God saved my life, man. Because if I didn't get clean and sober back then 5 years ago, I'd be dead now, or I'd be back in jail doing a life sentence. That's the truth, like that's where my life was going. There's no what's about it, like. Whereas today, like I live in a beautiful house, my wife, my kids, my job, my career. I have a life today that I wouldn't sell for all the money in the world. And when I look back now to 5 years ago, when I was trying to commit suicide and I had lost everything because of alcohol and drugs, and because I was living the mad life in my head, thinking I was this fucking gangster, when I was really a person that hadn't a clue what was going on in life and hated myself so much that I pushed everybody away from me. It just like it's the life I've lived was so fucking crazy, man. It was so crazy. Like there's things there, man, that I look back on now to this day, and I'm like sometimes I can't sleep at night. Like I'm like, what the fuck was going on there? Like in my life, like the stuff, like it's just fucking mental stuff that I went through or that I've done, and like sometimes I'm like, how did that even happen? Like, but I was so out of my head on drugs at the time and alcohol, like that. You don't care, like you don't care what's going on, like you actually don't give a fuck, like. And it's crazy to look back and think now, like that I was that out of my mind, that I was able to do those things and be that person that I'm so far away from today.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And I suppose when we're playing that role and that character, we need all that drink and need them drugs to numb our own conscience, like, of the things that we're doing.
Yeah, of course.
And I love that what you said, that, and it could resonate a lot with it, where you didn't like yourself that much that you needed those drink and the drink and the drugs just to go to pure oblivion, to numb out how you felt about yourself, like, and do you think you always had that feeling, but even before you picked up a drink or a drug, that you felt that like just inferior and didn't feel good enough? And
yeah, I think I always tried to be somebody else, I think I always kind of had that, like, wasn't happy with who I was, from even a young age, because I always lashed out. I got thrown out of primary school, got thrown out of secondary school. I always had a problem with authority. Always,
Yeah.
there was always something in my head before I picked up a drink or a drug, like, you know what I'm saying? And not saying it's anyone's fault or anything like that, but obviously it was something within myself like that. Now I'm able to look back on and say, yeah, obviously I've always had that feeling of worthlessness and, self-hate, and that I was like, that I wasn't good enough, so I always acted out. I always, whether it was against authority or whether it was against my own mother and father, who, like, my mother and father are great. Like, I love my mother and father, and my sisters, like, I come from a great family. They're great people. Like, so, like, it wasn't like I came from this rough Catholic home, because I didn't, like, do you know what I mean? So it was always myself and my own thing, like, you know what I mean, in my own head, like, from such a young age. Because if it wasn't, why would I have always been getting in trouble? Why would I have been getting thrown to primary? Like, I got thrown to primary school, then went to another one, got suspended, got thrown to every secondary school I ever went to, left school in first year, I think it was first year, because I just couldn't stay in school, like, So
Yeah.
I was always lashing out, man, even before I picked up a drink or a drug,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was the exact same, man, in school. Like, school just didn't suit me. And I think, like, some of the best minds out there, I don't think school suits them. Like, I left school quite young. And, I remember as well, I was always in trouble. Like, my mum was always dragged into the principal's office, and, I remember getting my mum bring me around all the psychologists to see why I was getting into trouble, and I was diagnosed with ADHD
Yeah,
and
yeah.
OCD and BBC and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
TV3.
The ADHD, yeah, yeah.
Everything was labeled on me, like, you know what I mean? And all it was just school just didn't stimulate me. I didn't have a mind for school, like, you know what I mean? I was still worried about what was going on outside the window, like, you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
was the same, man. I was very sad.
And just, yeah, and like that, man, I just had that mad. It's like my mind was too quick for the world, like, you know what I mean? And it was only now then that as well, coming into recovery, that was able to actually go back and, get a degree and things like that, and but I think at the time as well, like you, man, I had a very negative opinion of myself that I spent my whole life trying to disprove. I developed it from a very young age, that I didn't feel good enough, that I wasn't. I looked at everyone in the world as perfect, and like, this is what perfect is. I remember even going out to my friends' houses when I was a kid and seeing what a normal family was. They all sat down at the table at the same time to have their dinner, and they were talking to each other about their
Yeah,
days. And I
yeah,
was like, I didn't have this in my house. What's this all about? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
That,
yeah,
even the ma made nicer toast than my ma, like, you know what I mean? And then,
yeah.
then when it was time to go to my house for dinner, I was like, no, no way, like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
yeah, it was mad, like, but yeah, and it's mad that we can, like, it's just our thoughts, man, and that's what I suppose over time when I've come into recovery, what I've realised that what I feel, my feelings might be real, but the events aren't. You know what I mean? That my thoughts can make me happy, they can make me sad, they can make me depressed, they can make me high, they can make me low, but they're only
mm,
thoughts at the end of the day, and
yeah,
I suppose my ability to kind of detach with them and not get wrapped up in them is, is something that I need to practice on a daily basis, like, and you were just
yeah,
saying there, man, which I think is mad. You said the fear what people thought and the fear yourself, but you'd have no fear going into a ring, man, with people watching you and being and fighting and things like that. Like,
mm.
that's mad, isn't it? Because I remember getting, like, when I was fighting and just getting straight into the ring, and it's just like you're in the moment, but it's a completely different type of fear, like, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I said it on a podcast recently, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but for me, man, I get a lot of freedom from pain, man. I can, like, cutting the weight, getting into a ring, fighting, and pushing myself, and getting in a fight, and feeling alive, and, like, and even when I'm getting punched, like, even when I'm in sparring, like, I get hit a lot, like, I'm not gonna say I don't, like, but I get freedom from it, man. I feel just great, like, and I don't mean that in a sick, twisted way, like, but I get a lot of freedom from what I do, man.
Mm.
Pushing myself, like, it is a scary thing, like, going to a ring fighting, man, and not knowing. But, man, once you push past that little feeling, like I said earlier on, like, I think the feeling of fear is real, but giving into it is fake. It's an illusion that's put on us by other people. And
Yeah.
since I came into recovery, I've chosen never to give into the feeling of fear. The feeling is real, but I'm not going to give into that. I'm not going to suffer in that. No way. Like, I'm going to push past that all the time, no matter what it is,
I
because it's
love
just like you said, it's a thought, and without an action, you know what I mean? It's just a thought. You can brush it on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I always brush past that, man. You know what I mean? Fear is a feeling, and I will always push past that feeling. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
what comes after that for me is triumph. It's success. It's happiness. It's, you know, that's what I get from pushing past that, man. So when I get into a ring, man, or when I get into ring sparring, or when I go to the gym and I work very hard in the gym and I train very, very hard, but it's that pain that I get freedom from, man. It's that, you know, it's hard to explain, man, but I feel alive, man. Like
yeah,
when
I
I'm
get it,
doing those
man.
things, you know, it's unbelievable, like, you know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And like, yeah, I get it from running and swimming and, just pushing myself to the limits. And like people
Yeah,
say, geez, that's, is that not suffering? Like, but it's like, I guess that buzz, that feeling that you get out of it. And I found since I was a
yeah,
kid, my natural default was suffering. My natural default was feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. You know what I mean? So the
yeah.
stuff I do today, man, is like, it's relief. You know what I mean? To be able to get into the sea, to be able to do that running. I don't do it for fitness. I do it for me mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health. This stuff that keeps me sane. Like, you know what I mean. And I need to do it
Mm,
on a regular basis because the thing about addiction, man, and they like that it's a daily reprieve. You know what I mean. I have to daily
mm.
treat. I have to daily treat my addiction. I have to daily treat my
Big time.
mind. The more I take my like if that no, I don't maintain, will go out of hand. If I don't maintain my hygiene, the cleanliness in my house, my fitness, the grass in my back garden. If I don't maintain these on a regular basis, they're going to get out of hand. And it's the same with mental health and
Oh, big time.
with my sobriety as well. And they talk about like it's sobriety or the addiction, being like it's a mental illness and or the disease, and people say, oh, it's like cancer or dementia, it can be treated in the same
Mm,
thing. And in Portugal, it's actually seen, it's not criminalized in Portugal. It's seen as an ailment, you know what I mean? So if you have
right.
an addiction, they bring you into hospital and treat you as if you're a sick person. Like, but the
Yeah.
difference is between, I suppose, cancer and addiction is that my addiction can come back with a thought, with a decision. That if I say, right, I'm going to go and drink today, that I'm back in full blown
Yeah. Like that.
addiction just by a thought. So that's why it's a mental disease because I have to treat my mental health on a regular basis because if my mind gets that, I suppose, gets that unbearable again, that a drink will come attractive to me again. You know what I mean? So I need to keep I suppose my reality is as such, an attractive place to be that I won't need to reach for a drink or reach for a bag of coke or reach for something that makes my reality better. So that's my priority today, is just to try and live in the present and try and make my life experience today as pleasant as it can. And it doesn't mean that them challenges don't still come, man. Like I don't label good experiences or bad experiences. I just label everything as an experience. I'm learning from it or I'm enjoying it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's all it is for me today. Like,
Mm. I'd be very similar, man, to that. Like that. Everything's like I can relate a lot to what you said, though, man. Like it's a learning process, man. This thing, like it's an illness and it's an incurable illness. You know what I mean? And I'm never cured, and it's a daily reprieve. And I have to meditate. I have to do things daily because I can all thoughts come back into my head and I can be a
mm,
completely different person on a Tuesday than I was on a Monday, man. You know what I mean? And it's my
mm,
wife that's feeling the brunt of it, or it's my kids that's feeling the brunt of it, because I didn't check myself that morning, I didn't hand my day
yeah,
over, I didn't do a bit of meditation. It's like, and that's how scary it is for me. Like, it's like I can be an absolute fucking lunatic on any given day. Like if I don't check myself, and it's as simple
yeah,
as that. Like I know for a fact in my head, like I that lunatic is always in there, man. Like I said this on the one podcast I done, like, but I choose to feed the good dog instead of the bad dog. You know what I mean? Whereas before I fed the bad dog all the time. But there
mm,
is days, but where the bad dog comes out, man, and I'm an absolute prick. Like my wife
mm,
is a saint. Like to put up with me some days, like that's the truth. Like she's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Like, but some days I can be an absolute prick, man. And it's because I
yeah,
had, like you said there, I haven't checked myself. I haven't said, all right, Graham, hand your day over, do a bit of meditation, or even sometimes I can feel it coming on for a couple of days, you know what I mean? Where I can feel myself kind of starting to get a bit shitty. I can feel my mood kind of dropping and I can feel a bit down, and boom, then all of a sudden I'm back to the old ground without drinking or drugs. No, it doesn't happen often, but it can still happen. Like, it can still creep in because because I'm human, like, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
do I have a great life and I live a very positive life, but there's some days, man, where I
mm,
don't check myself and bang, in the blink of an eye, I'm an absolute fucking lunatic, like.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why, like you just said there, I gotta check it. I gotta make sure I'm doing the good things. I'm keeping the good dog. I'm feeding the good dog instead of the
mm.
bad dog.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy, the good dog and the bad dog. It's like that one. I think it's a Chinese proverb. This kid and his granddad are sitting on a bench, and the granddad's telling him a story. There's everyone has two dogs in the head. One dog's a good
Mm.
dog. It's full of the happiness and joy and kindness and love and selflessness and consideration and compassion. And he said, but there's another dog that's full of hate, full of greed, full of envy, full of jealousy, full of nastiness, and full of anger. And he said these dogs are always fighting. And he's like, well, granddad, which dog wins? And he says, whichever dog you feed the most. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah, and
whichever.
that's bang on.
Yeah, yeah, it's mad. Like, I totally get that, man. Like, I still get them days where I feel angry or I feel pissed off, and I suppose the difference is today that I still feel that, but my thoughts and my actions, there's a massive gap between them, And I suppose in recovery, I've learned that thing with the 10 seconds, or when I used to think something, I do it straight away. I wouldn't even think twice. Whereas now, if I get a feeling or a thought, that there's a bit of space between that thought and that action. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
talk about it in cognitive behavioral therapy, that your feelings result in thoughts and your thoughts result in behaviors. You know what I mean? So for me, saying, right, if I get a feeling, then it has to go into a thought, and then it has to go to a behavior, that I don't have to act on every feeling that I get. Like, you know what I mean? That if you get a feeling, you shared there about, talking about the cars going up the road and getting paranoid and all that they're
mm.
after, before you get that thought, you go, geez, I better go up and put the latch on the door and lock the door. Like,
Yeah,
whereas now you don't give in to that thought, because look, it's just a thought. And the mad thing is, though, a lot of anxious people, man, tend to be quite creative intellect. You know what I mean? Because we're
mm.
creating problems in our head, like problems that don't actually exist. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, for me, that I find that if we don't have a structure or a routine or some sort of program that I can rely on, that the boredom can creep in, and boredom can be a big instigator for anxiety for me. So I find that having a routine and doing a bit of running and the swimming, and like just having a balance too, so that I don't overdo it and burn out. And you probably do it as well with the boxing. That your boxing for you is a big void filler, I'd say today. That being able to kind of focus on the boxing and the training, as well as your family and on your spiritual health as well.
Yeah, it's massive, man. It's I'm very, very grateful that I'm still able to do what I love, man, which is boxing. It really helped with my recovery, and that's the truth. It did really help to give me that extra focus when I needed it the most.
Mm,
When I came back to boxing, when I first got clean and sober, it took me a while obviously to go back to boxing, so I was focused on myself. But when I got back to boxing and amateur, and then when I turned pro, man, it was that extra focus. So I'm very grateful that I'm able to, that I have that still in my life. You know what I mean? Because obviously there was talks of not fighting again because I'm not getting any younger and stuff like that. But I'm grateful that I have it in my life, that I'm able to do that too. Like recovery has given me that, and it's always good to have something to focus on as well, man. You know what I mean? It helps, especially
mm.
with the harder days. Like for me, like that I have it. Like you said there about the running and the swimming. Like I know now I'm training for a fight, but before this fight, like I wasn't really in great shape. I was just training, but I trained every day. I have a gym out the back of my house, like, but I just went out to the gym just to hit the bag, just for my head, man, just to have that focus. You know what I mean? To put the training in and get the sweat up, and for the head more than anything, man. So it's great for anyone. I think that struggles with mental health, for me anyway, and anyone, I think, to have something now. For me, it's boxing, and for you, it's running and swimming. But it can be anything: reading a book, you
Yeah.
know, doing the hoovering, whatever it is. But just to have that little
Yeah.
bit of extra focus, man, it just gives you that little bit extra, when it's
Yeah.
needed the most. Like I find anyway, it does. Like,
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's finding your formula, finding your therapy, and just everyone's different, just finding what works for you, like, And I love what you said about the goals as well. And what I've learned the last few years about the goals, and I'd be very goal orientated, is that it's not about smashing the goal. It's about the journey to the goal. That journey gives
yeah,
us a sense of purpose, gives us a sense of meaning, gives us something to focus on, gives us something to motivate us. It's like if you go to a film, you're not going, geez, I can't wait to get to the end of this film. Like, you're going to
yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
the
yeah,
experience. Or if you buy a pack of biscuits, you're not going, geez, I can't wait to polish these off. I love I do. I'm a pack of
yeah,
biscuit
yeah,
man. But, it's all
yeah.
about the journey and the experience in between. Like, I remember training for marathons and training for fights like that. And as soon as they're finished, you got this bit of a low, you got a mad anticlimax. And, that addict in me was always like, right, now what? As soon as you hit the top of the roller coaster and you're on the way down, you're like, right,
Yeah.
now what? So I was kind of left with a bit of an anticlimax every time we smashed that goal. So I'm now more focused on the journey to the goal. Like, have the goal to be. If you reach the goal or you don't, that's not the big deal. The big deal is that that bit of focus and that journey that you have, and try to be present in that journey and see the kind of stride and the steps that you're making towards that goal.
Yeah. That's it exactly, man. It's the journey, not destination. It's all about enjoying it, man, as you're going forward, isn't it? Really, like it's.
Mm,
I think we all can get caught up with, oh yeah, I want to get to here, I want to get to here, but when realistically, it's about enjoying the whole process, man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's about enjoying every step and living every moment of it, and that's what I understand now more than ever. Like that it is genuinely about what I'm doing while I'm getting there. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
is the destination ever there? Is there ever an end? You know what I mean? If you keep enjoying what you're doing, you're always going to be enjoying the journey. But if you focus on only the end, then you're not going to be enjoying what you're doing, man, and you're just going to be rushing it. And whereas now today, I like I said, I live in the moment and I'm enjoying the journey more now than ever. Like,
yeah. That's it, man. And the thing about journey is that, like, so some of them are going to be challenging, some of them are going to be a pleasure. But it's like we're always going to get something of value out of it. You know what I mean? That we're always going to learn something from it. Like, you know what I mean? And I think then that's a natural thing about life, is that we're just having life experience, and just the more that we're present and in the moment. And I spent years suffering in my present moment on the belief, the ideology that the future would be better, like constantly living in a destination addiction that, oh, tomorrow will be better than today. Or if I get that jacket, it'll be better. If I get that car, that promotion, that fitness goal, if I win this fight, if I could do that marathon, then I'll be happier. Then I'll like who I am. Then things will be better. I was
yeah,
constantly jeopardizing and suffering today, but on the belief that tomorrow will be better, and never actually living in the present, never actually living in the moment now. And it's only in recent years that I've started to enjoy the present moment and realizing that tomorrow is just today's present. Like, you know what I mean? That all I
yeah,
have is the
100%.
present, man. You know what I mean? And I heard an analogy before. It's like we are driving a boat. With the engine of that boat is your present thoughts and your present moment. You look up behind that boat and you see this trail in the water. That's your past. That's your past experiences. And you look forward to the horizon that's coming ahead of you. That's your future. You're not there yet. But the thing that's powering the sail of that boat, is your present moment thoughts and being in the moment, like.
Yeah, man, that's a great way to look at it too, man. Yeah, it's a really, really good way to look at it. And it's nail on the head stuff, like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
my sponsor always says, like, the reason it's called the present is because it's a gift sent us
yeah,
by God. You know what I mean? I love that, man. Like when, and every time, like he'd always remind me of that stuff if I'm ever talking to him and I'm not in the best form. He'd remind me, like, don't forget it's a gift. And
yeah,
I love that, like, you know what I mean? It really is a gift. Like, I'm so grateful that I'm able to live in the present today. Like, I don't worry about tomorrow. It's all about the here and now for me, man. Like you just said
yeah.
there, like, being that engine on the boat, like living in the present moment, like.
Yeah, I love that, man. Like, what are your motivators? Like, what's your why to get up in the morning and go to the gym and do the boxing and come home to the kids at the end of the day? What do you think's your why?
I suppose it's just challenging myself, bettering myself, but also being a good role model for my son. You know what I mean? Being a good husband for my wife, and a good father for my kids. A good friend to my friends and a good person that people can look up to show that we can come back from absolutely anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my life was absolutely destroyed, and now I live a great life today. And I know myself I've motivated a lot of people to do that too because they've told me. You know what I mean? So that's my why, man. And my why is never giving in to the naysayers, never giving in to the doubters or the negativity, and always pushing myself past all that stuff. That's my why, man. You know what I mean?
I
That's my
love
why,
that,
is to
man.
always better myself and to push myself as far as I can possibly go, man. That's it, man. I'm always striving for greatness. You know what I mean? And it's enjoying the journey on the way. Like, that's really it, bro.
Yeah,
Now that this fight coming up in America, like, it's a big deal. You know what I mean? And it's exciting, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's exciting. Like, so I'm grateful that I have that stuff. You know what I mean? So all that stuff comes with my reason. You know what I mean? It's getting
mm,
up in the morning, pushing myself to be a better person, and all this stuff is a bonus that comes with that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The life that God has given me today, like, you know what I mean, is to reach back and help somebody else along the way. Like, that's what life is about. You know what I mean? Is helping other people see that there is better life out there. Like,
yeah. I love that, man. That's beautiful. And like, from the man that's been through the experiences you've been through, what would you call happiness today? Like, what's your description of happiness?
my description of happiness, man, is sitting at home with my wife and kids, man. That's what it's about for me, man. And I know, like, it's an old cliche, oh, wife and kids, but that's the truth, man. Because I lost it all, man. That was all gone. Like, I didn't have, it was gone. Like, I had nothing. They had left me for every good reason. Like, how anyone could be around me when I was like that person is, I was an absolute lunatic. So now the fact that I get to sit down on my couch with my wife in my own house, with my wife and my kids, and having money in our pockets, not being broke, that's happiness to me, man. That's it. Like sitting on my couch, waiting for my baby to arrive in July. I know I have the boxing and all that stuff, but that's all a bonus, man. Boxing will go someday, but my family and my wife won't. Like, you know what I mean? And my mother, and my father, and my sisters, and my friends. That's happiness to me, man. The life I live today is happiness to me, man. You know what I mean? I don't search outside of myself for gratitude. I don't need anybody else to pat me on the back to tell me how well I'm doing. Like, I'm able to look at myself in the mirror today and say, well done, Graham. Like, you're doing really well. Like, you've worked hard. Like, I've worked really hard for the position I'm in today. Like, really, really hard. I've come over some tough challenges, even in recovery, man. Like, more in recovery than I did when I was in active addiction, because I am more aware of it today, man. So my happiness today, man, is the satisfaction that I have in the life I have today, man. I just love my life, man. That's the whole all of it. Like, I'm blessed. Like, even when I finish the interview, like, I'll go in and sit down with my wife and my son and watch the TV. Like, that's it, man. In a nutshell, like, it's as simple as that. Like,
That's beautiful, man. And do you know what? If I was, if I was in early recovery, or if I'm in the last stage of my addiction, man, and I'm listening to this, you've such an attractive recovery, man, and it's such an attractive mindset, and I think that's the thing about experiences. There's no such thing as we were saying about bad or good experience, but there is. I suppose with pain, the main thing is that we don't waste our pain, that we can use our pain of the past or pain of our addiction to benefit other people today. And that's what I have. That's what, like, like, if I can use my past experiences to connect with someone on a deeper level, and like you being able to be this vulnerable, you're giving me permission to be vulnerable. And anyone listening to this is realizing,
yeah,
Jesus, it's okay to be vulnerable, regardless if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a boxer, or if you're a dancer. That it's okay to talk about what's going on. And if you are struggling, it's perfectly fine. It's a normal, universal, inevitable thing to go through suffering and go through pain. And if your mental health is at a wobble, there's always hope. There's always a way out. Like, you know what I mean? No matter what's going on. But I think the first step is to be able to talk to people and be able to say, look, I'm
big time,
struggling.
big
And
time.
the opposite of depression is expression. To be able to express
Yeah,
what's going on with you, be able to talk and say, yeah, look, I'm kind of struggling. Because I think an Irish culture thing, I don't know, maybe that we just always want to put the best front forward. We always want to put the smile on the face and look great. And let on where all is great. And
yeah,
I remember I heard my sister say before, she felt like Brown Thomas on the outside and Tesco on the inside, like, where she'd constantly
yeah,
say that once everything looked okay and her friends thought she was okay and everything looked nice and glamorous on Instagram, it didn't matter how empty and lost and unhappy she was on the inside, because it looked all okay on the outside. And I could relate so much to that. We're constantly trying
yeah.
to just pretend everything's all right, just throw a lick of paint over the grizzly bear, they'll be okay
Mm.
then, like, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's you're bang on there, man. That's a great analogy to Brown Thomas Tesco. That's great. Like, but to anyone that's struggling, you know what I mean? There's always a way out, but as well as I do. Like, I've had a look at your Instagram, like, you're really motivational guy. I really like seeing that. It's really, you're like myself, man. You're expressing how you feel and how you are and helping others along the way, man, which is what
Yeah,
recovery is about, man. You know that as
yeah.
well as I do. Like, and it's great that we're in a position today to be able to help other people, man, because I was the other people, you know what I mean? I was the other people at the start of my recovery, man, and lost and hopeless and not knowing what was going on in life and where I was going. And now today I'm not that person, like, and it's because someone in the position that we're in today was able to help me, man, So
Mm.
I'm hoping that obviously someone will listen to this and they may be struggling and might get some help from it,
Beautiful, man. I know you're. Yeah, I'll leave you after this so you can spend a bit of time with the fam. But what are some of your, like, non-negotiables, or some of your just some of your tools that you use today to kind of maintain good mental health and kind of maintain where you are mentally?
For me, but like yourself, like a typical addict, man, my mental health can be off the wall, like
Mm.
absolutely off the wall. Like, I can be depressed, I can be angry, I can be happy. in the space of a half an
Yeah.
hour. Simple.
Mad, sad, glad, and bad, all in the 1 hour.
It's fucking lunatic. Like it's, and it's a mental health thing, and I understand that today. But today, man, meditation is a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Music is a big thing for me. Obviously, my training, my family, But anyone like that was out there that's struggling, man, find something that you can tune into, man. Like for me early on, I was able to find what really helped me along and what really helps me today. And I still do to this day is I listen to a lot of motivational speaking, man. A lot of it. Like I listen to a lot of stuff like Les Brown and Tony Robbins and Denzel Washington, it's Matthew McConaughey. There's loads of stuff online. It's easy to do, man. And I do it still to this day, man. I'm 5 years clean sober in May, and still to this day, I still listen to the stuff. It's the same stuff that I've been listening to for the last 4 years, because subconsciously, whether I'm listening or not, it's in my head. So I always have that in my head, man. So even on the days where I'm really bad, something will click in and I'll put it on or I'll meditate. Like the good days outweigh the bad days for me, 9 to 10 all the time, man. You know what I mean? But those bad days can obviously come in too. Like, but for me, man, meditation, the motivation, speaking, and the love I feel for my wife and my kids and stuff, that's what does it for me, man. That's what keeps me good. You know what I mean? It keeps me sane,
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love that. And about the motivational speakers as well. And you said about the meditation, and I heard someone say to me recently, the thing about breath, from from the moment you're born to the moment you die, you have breath. All you have is your breath. When you're angry, when you're sad, is your breath. Like when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling excited, it's always your breath. It comes back to your breath. And like, we can underestimate the power of just breathing, like, you know what I mean? And
big time.
and I found that, like, when I just started to focus on meditation, it was complete game changing. I was just sitting out on the balcony, get synchronizing with nature, sitting there listening to the birds, listening to what's going on. I take my shoes off, let my feet hit the ground, and just meditating and just being in that present moment. And
taking it all in.
Take it all in, man. And I just found the day was a bit smoother throughout. You know what I mean? Them traffic jams, the rude people you might come across, the crazy thoughts, they just became a bit more manageable when I meditated, But
I can relate to
that. But my problem is I'm not a slow learner. I'm a quick forgetter. That I forget quickly how good meditating is. And tomorrow I'll be like, maybe if we go for a run instead of meditating, or maybe if we read this self-help book instead of going to a recovery meeting, or maybe if we, rather than just sticking to the winning formula that works, if it's not broken, don't fix it, I just need to keep coming back to that meditation, brother. But Graham, man, it's been powerful listening to you. And you were talking about motivation. Man, you're talking about motivational speakers. You're definitely up there with Denzel and Tony Robbins and the lads, man. You should have your own fucking channel going. But thanks a million, man. I'm really looking forward to the fight. And I still think that penalty was very questionable.
GGMU, baby. GGMU.
Beautiful stuff, Graham. Enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Thanks for having me on, but I really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks,
man. See you soon, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.